The United States is currently throwing a party. They are celebrating efficiency. They are celebrating a new golden age. They believe that Mr. Musk has bought a new company to fix, just like he fixed Twitter. But looking at this from the outside, I do not see a victory. Elon Musk has not bought a company. He has bought a ticket on the Titanic after it has already hit the iceberg. You see, I spent years at the IMF in Washington. I sat across the table from finance ministers of collapsing nations. Greece, Argentina, Brazil. I know the smell of a dying economy. It always smells the same. It smells like desperation disguised as reform. The American media is not telling you the truth about the Department of Government Efficiency. They say it is about cutting waste. But let's look at the math, the real math. The United States is now $38 trillion in debt. For the first time in history, the US government spends more on interest payments to bankers than it spends on its own military. Think about that. The greatest superpower in history is now working just to pay the visa bill. Elon Musk is a mathematician. He looked at the books and he realized the terrifying truth that no politician wants to admit. He realized that the United States is mathematically insolvent. The efficiency project is not a cleanup. It is emergency austerity. It is the same bitter medicine the IMF used to force on the Third World. Only now the patient is the doctor. And the question is not if the patient will survive the surgery. The question is, what happens to the rest of the world when the surgeon's hands start shaking? We have a name for what Mr. Musk is proposing. In the halls of the IMF, we called it structural adjustment. But the people on the streets of Argentina and Greece, they just called it starvation. In 2010, the IMF forced Greece to do exactly what Elon Musk wants to do to America. We forced them to slash pensions. We forced them to fire government clear-throat workers. We forced them to sell off their national assets. The theory was that this efficiency would save the economy, but the reality, the Greek economy didn't get efficient. It shrank by 25%. Poverty exploded. The social contract was torn apart. Now look at the United States. Elon Musk has promised to cut $2 trillion from the federal budget. It sounds heroic on a podcast, but in the real world, government spending is not just waste. It is someone's salary. It is someone's healthcare. It is the concrete in your roads. The United States economy has become addicted to this spending. If you suddenly pull $2 trillion out of the system, you do not get a leaner government. You get an immediate, catastrophic depression. This is the trap the United States has built for itself. It is a golden cage. If they do cut the spending, the economy crashes and the people riot. We saw it in Athens. We saw it in Buenos Aires. Do you think Americans are more patient than Greeks? I do not think so. But here is a nightmare scenario. What if they don't cut? If they are too afraid to take the medicine, then the debt continues to grow. The interest payments consume everything, and eventually the only way to pay the bills is to print more dollars. That is the path to hyperinflation. So, Mr. Musk is standing in front of two doors. Door number 1 is a depression. Door number 2 is the destruction of the dollar. He thinks he can find a third door called efficiency. But, as an economist, I must tell you, when you owe $38 trillion, the third door does not exist. But the damage does not stop at the American border. When an empire begins to crumble at home, it does not die quietly. It lashes out. It tries to export its pain to everyone else. And this is why the world is currently on fire. You look at the headlines: war in Ukraine, chaos in the Middle East, tensions in Taiwan, and you think these are separate events. You think they are just geopolitics. They are not. They are economic symptoms. The United States has a unique power that no other country has ever had. They can print the global reserve currency. This means they can force you in Brazil, in Europe, in Asia to pay for their mistakes. How? By weaponizing the dollar. In 2022, the United States did something that changed financial history forever. They froze $30 billion of Russian reserves. They thought this would stop Russia. But they forgot to ask, what message does this send to the rest of the world? The message was clear. If you do not obey Washington, your money is not safe. Saudi Arabia saw this. China saw this. Even we in Brazil saw this. We realized that the dollar is no longer just a currency. It is a political weapon. And what happens when you weaponize your money? People stop using it. This is why you see the chaos in the headlines. It is not just war. It is a rebellion. The global South is frantically trying to build a lifeboat before the American ship sinks. But there is a darker side to this chaos. You see, instability is actually good for the US dollar. When there is a war in Europe, where does the money run to for safety? It runs to New York. When there is fear in the Middle East, what do investors buy? They buy US Treasury bonds. So, the United States has a perverse incentive. Peace is bad for business. Chaos keeps the dollar strong. Elon Musk says he wants to fix the US economy. But the US economy is currently built on two things: debt and war. If he cuts the debt, the economy crashes. And if he stops the wars, the demand for the dollar disappears. This is the corner they have painted themselves into. They need the chaos to survive. But the rest of the world is tired of paying the price. We are tired of importing American inflation. We are tired of our interest rates going up because the Federal Reserve made a mistake. The efficiency of the American empire has always been based on inefficiency for the rest of us. They feast, and we pay the bill. But now the bill is too high, and the customers are walking out of the restaurant. And this brings us to the greatest irony of our time. History will likely look back at this moment and say, the man who did the most to destroy the American empire was the American president. I have a theory that I call the involuntary unifier. You see, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, we are very different. We have different cultures, different political systems, different interests. Under normal circumstances, it would be very difficult for us to unite. But we have one thing that brings us together: fear of the United States. Donald Trump and Elon Musk believe in America first. They believe that by slapping tariffs on allies and threatening everyone with sanctions, they are making America strong. But what they are actually saying to the world is, you are on your own. Every time Mr. Trump signs a tariff order, he is not protecting American industry. He is sending a commercial advertisement for the BRICS alliance. He's telling Brazil, you cannot trust us. He's telling India, you need a backup plan. So while Washington fights over wokeism and efficiency, we have been quietly building the plumbing for a new world. We call it the R5. It is a proposal for a new common currency: the Rio, the ruble, the rupee, the remnant. Now listen carefully, because the Western media will lie to you about this. They will say, we are trying to create a new euro. They will say, it is impossible. We are not trying to replace your local currency. You will still use reais in Brazil and rupees in India. The R5 is designed to be a unit of account for trade. Think of it like a digital token. Instead of Brazil selling soy to China in dollars and risking those dollars being frozen by a judge in New York, we trade in R5. We beg this currency not with faith like the US dollar, but with a basket of real assets and bonds guaranteed by our 5 nations. It is a safety net. It is a bunker. The United States has spent 80 years building a golden cage for the global economy. They gave us the dollar, but they kept the key. Now, Elon Musk is panicked because he sees the cage is rusting. He's trying to weld it shut with austerity and efficiency, but he is too late. Because of his aggressive policies, because of the weaponization of the dollar, the rest of the world is no longer trying to fix the cage. We are building a key to open the door. This brings the entire argument home. It moves away from the specific news about Elon Musk and delivers the final diagnosis for the viewer. Mr. Musk is a brilliant man. He has built rockets that can land themselves. He has revolutionized the electric car. But he's about to learn a very painful lesson. You cannot engineer your way out of a Ponzi scheme. The United States has enjoyed what we economists call the exorbitant privilege. For 80 years, they could print paper and buy the world's resources. They could run deficits that would destroy any other nation. They believed this privilege was eternal. They believed the credit card had no limit. But the nightmare that Elon Musk discovered in the books is simply the bill coming due. The United States will eventually have to make a choice between two devastations. They can either default on their debt, tell the world, we cannot pay, which would bankrupt the global financial system instantly. Or they can inflate their way out. They can print the money to pay the debt, making every dollar in your pocket worth less and less. History tells us they will choose inflation. It is the coward's way out. It is the slow death. So the efficiency you see on the news, it is theater. It is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic while the band plays God Bless America. The transition to a multipolar world will be messy. It will be dangerous. The golden cage is breaking and the beast inside is frightened. But you do not have to be frightened. You just have to be prepared. If you want to understand the new system that is rising to replace the dollar, and if you want to know how the R5 will actually work, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. The world is changing fast and the mainstream media is still watching the theater. Here we watch the reality.